Hey everyone, today we are doing a portfolio update on my dividend account on M1 Finance. Today is actually going to be the highest value on screen right now as we are recording this here today. And we're going to be talking about the dividends that this portfolio has made us. Now, this is nicely named Dividend Dennis, and we're going to be talking about those dividends. Now, when I was running the numbers this last month that we just ran, we actually had an increase of over 48% compared to what we made last year from this same time period. So I'm going to break that down here in just a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about the portfolio first and foremost. Based off of how the stock market has been performing, we are doing fairly well here. So let me take some of the stuff off screen here. So we're going to go to our last week over here. So you can see over the last week, we had about a $12,200 gain on the market. And then you can see over here, if I actually toggle it over, we're going to go to the last month. We still are up over the month. Obviously, we had a downturn, but you can see right over here for dividends earned, we've earned $393.70 over the last month. That's dividends that are earned but not necessarily paid out yet, which I'll show you here in just a second on my dividend sheet, how much I made, and then we'll show you which companies paid out from that time. So overall, the portfolio is looking really solid. We did actually add in an ETF here towards the very bottom. You can see it's VOOG. Definitely has a pretty low dividend yield as of right now. So we'll most likely convert that over to a higher dividend paying ETF once we kind of get a little bit closer into the time frame of wanting to use this fund for kind of just living off of, which right now we're aiming probably in about 10 years, give or take. So definitely stick around if you want to see how that ends up over time. Now we're going to hop over here on my dividend tracker. So this is something I actually have put together so that way I can track my dividends so I can actually see how much I am making. If you're interested in checking this out, I'll have a link for you in the show notes down below. You can go ahead and make a purchase on that one. It's only about like $7-8 if you want to go ahead and do that purchase. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the screen here because there's a lot of numbers being thrown out. So I'm going to be zooming in here so we can take a nice look. Like I mentioned, I will tell you which companies paid out these dividends in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and talk first and foremost about these numbers. And you can see right over here, it's kind of highlighted already. So for this year, for September, we actually earned a total of $435.36 across all of the dividends that are earned in our M1 Finance account. We also do have a separate IRA account that we do accumulate as well. So we'll have our all tab shown later as well. Actually, maybe not today because I don't think we got paid out just yet from the retirement accounts. But you can see right over here, $435, like I mentioned. If you look at what we made last year at the same time period for September of 2023, we actually only came in at $210.83. And I say only, but I'm just doing that comparison between year over year. And you can see even the year prior to that, we were at 123. So this is what I love about my dividend income tracker is that I could see how much I made the same time period the year before or a couple years past as well too. Because when I first started tracking, it was back in 2019, we made 42 cents in that month of September. Then it jumped to 30, then 77, and then that 123, 210, and now at $435. So I also want to kind of just do a quick kind of add up here to see how we did for the overall quarter as well too, since this actually ends our Q3 as well. So you can see here for the third quarter this year, we actually have now a total of $634.98, which is fantastic. If you look at what we did last year, which was $347, this is a huge increase year over year. Obviously, this is us putting money in still at this time, as well as companies increasing their dividends, which if by any chance you already have this dividend tracker, let me know because I did actually add in this new little section that I got to continue to work on here. But if you already did a purchase, I'll send this copy for you. I actually wanted to keep track of when the companies that announce their dividend increases actually happen because I have a tendency to want to go back and kind of pay attention. So created this new tab here with all the symbols that I currently have right now, and then their estimated announcement dates. So usually a company will do once a year, they'll announce a dividend increase. So for example, Apple typically has it announced in May, and then I also have it how much of a percentage they increase and what year that was. And you can see I also just put a special dividend tab since I have Costco on there as well. So you can see obviously some companies don't have any dividends, so they're not applicable. And there's some companies, actually quite a few on our list here, such as Meta, Google, and Booking.com. right over here actually haven't had their first dividend increase just yet, although I'm really suspicious on the fact that that might end up being really nice double digits for years to come. So I'm really excited. So obviously Booking announced back in February originally, Google was in April, and Meta was also in February as well. So I'm assuming that's when they'll do their dividend increases, and we'll start filling those in as well. And then let's go back over to our tab over here. Like I mentioned, so right now, when we're looking at the overall year to date, what we've earned in dividends is $2,070 for the entire year thus far, with one full quarter left to go. And usually the fourth quarter, we tend to see a couple more of those increases have happened. So we actually usually have a nicer end of the year income. So for us right over here, we're already 34% over from what we made last year. Again, only 3 quarters in. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the year ends up coming in. I love this pay per hour right over here. I pretty much just base it off of 24 hours a day, so not just like an 8-hour work week. So you can see here it's 32 cents an hour. Doesn't seem like a lot, but whether I'm sleeping or awake, doing work or having fun, I'm making 32 cents an hour. And obviously that is going to compound over time and have a bigger and bigger impact on how much we're actually making. So like I mentioned earlier, if you do want to go ahead and purchase a copy of this tracker, go ahead and check out the link in the show notes down below. I have several tabs up here as well too. So we have like our IRA account as well, and we have an all tab that accumulates all of those together, so we can see how much we're earning from not just our retirement accounts, but our taxable accounts or any other types of dividends we want to make. Like I mentioned, I also am adding now in this dividend increase to just keep track of when these companies are expected to have their increases happen. So let's go ahead and check out which companies paid out that $435. So let's hop over here back on M1 Finance. So this is the platform I do use, which will also be in the show notes next to the tracker if you want to check them out. That way you can get a nice bonus for using our link here. So we're going to go into our holdings. Now, M1 Finance does also have an income tracker, just kind of like a heads up here for us. As of right now, it has the last 2 years. I, of course, still love my dividend tracker as well. And let's go ahead and break this down into our activities and go into our dividends only and get that filled in here. So we can see right over here, we're going to start with the very bottom here. So for September 5th, we actually got paid out from Discover $134.01. Now, Discover hasn't been increasing their dividend, so hopefully they will at some point. We haven't been buying much from them as well over the last couple of months because they've kind of been at a peak right now with the potential purchase from Capital One. And I say potential because if it gets pushed down or stopped from the government, I don't want to kind of put my money on that. So you can see here on September 12th, we actually got paid out from 2 companies. We got paid out from Microsoft, which is our original dividend investing company in here, which is $41.66. And then with Home Depot on that same date right over here, you can see it was $144.63. Now, Home Depot is one company where I kind of get tossed and turned on wanting to continue to hold them, mostly because their debt just constantly is really high, and they've actually increased it since this last quarter. And I'm not a big fan of companies that go into such crazy amounts of debt to obviously not just pay their dividends, but just to even run the company. And then over here on September 16th, we also got paid out from Google at total of $70.44, which is honestly so great to see. One, obviously I work on YouTube. I have multiple YouTube channels, and then just getting out from this as well to kind of almost like buying into a company that I work with, which is really great to see. Plus paying for like YouTube Premium and all that stuff is kind of getting me back onto this dividend. So I'm really excited to continue to see this one grow. And like I mentioned earlier, the dividend increases that this company will do, I believe, are going to be pretty phenomenal just based off of my estimates. If we go to Seeking Alpha, let me just kind of quickly run into this, and I'll zoom in here just a little bit too so you guys can see. So if I zoom in here, so this is a big deal here. So the way I like to see this is the average company for payout ratios when it comes to their dividend is about 60%. Anything above that, you want to be a little bit more cautious. Anything below that, that means there's usually a lot more room for growth. And so for them right now to be at 3%, and this will probably go up a little bit more once the full year kind of goes through, this is just a ridiculously low number. Now, that increase can be 15, 20% possibly. Obviously, I don't know for sure, but based off of their payout ratio and how much money that they have in the bank, I could easily see them having some really amazing dividend growth. So for what I'm getting right now, obviously the yield is pretty low, but when you consider the fact that once they have that full year, that increase is going to happen, as well as buying now and the price of the stock actually continue to go up, because this is actually one company I'm still buying pretty heavily. Because if they're PE ratio continues to stay at under 23%, which is obviously the average when it comes to like the S&P. I'm going to keep on buying into this company as well. So I believe they're in my top 2 holdings, if I'm not mistaken. So if I go in here, you can see we have Google themselves. Yeah, they are actually my top holding as of right now in total value. SoFi comes in second. Currently, it doesn't pay a dividend, which I do understand, even though I am a dividend portfolio channel, so to speak. But I do know in the future, as a bank stock, they will eventually do that. But if it's in 10 years, I'm totally okay with that. But having the amount of shares I have now, it's going to be pretty ridiculous. So I'm going to be excited to see how that plays out. But yeah, so Google is my number 1, and currently I'm still buying even at this price point, just because I see the PE ratio, I see where they're going. Obviously, they have some headwinds against like some of the lawsuits they have going on, but overall, I think this is going to be a pretty big win for this portfolio and the overall account that I have as well too. So let me know in the comments down below how much you've earned in dividends this last month or even the last quarter, if you're doing really well, if you're up against what you were the last year. And if you end up getting the dividend tracker, let me know how you like it. If you have any requests for any updates, I'm going to continue to update this as well, so that way I can keep making it better, and love seeing these increases going on over time. Now, if you want to keep on watching more content around investing, check out my video right over here on screen to keep on learning.